welcome back to Up North at 4. And joining us once again in our kitchen set, it is Chef Tom, aka CT of CT's Deli. And this is seriously perfect timing because today we're doing a macaroni and cheese. And I know a lot of people at home are probably thinking, mac and cheese, like, yeah, I can just rip open the box, make it in there. No, 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 no. We're doing something a little different today. Chef Tom, walk us through what we're going to be making today.
Well, we're going to make one of the mother sauces. It's a bechamel. But I'm not going to do the bechamel all the way because that would require shallots and white wine. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a base for a mac and cheese from scratch.
Okay.
And the great thing about this is we're coming into a comfort feed season where we're hungry, holidays are coming, so I'm going to show you a different way a way to make mac and cheese from scratch, and also to thicken your gravies come fall when you're working with your roasts or your turkey or your roast chicken or that kind of stuff. So what we're basically going to do is we're going to start with butter.
Okay.
And we're going to start with one of the bases of. We're kind of going to make what they would call a roux, but a roux is the base essential of a bechamel. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to melt our butter down. And then we're going to add a flour, which is going to be a thickening agent for our mac and cheese. And you can do this also on a gluten-free level and not add the flour. And you could thicken this thing to end with a slurry, which is 50% cornstarch and 50% water.
So you can easily do this and make sure, you know, when the holidays are coming up, Thanksgiving, whatever, you know, your gluten-free family members, they can still eat this.
And they sure can. So what we're just going to do is we're just going to melt this butter down in the pan. And once our butter melts down, we're just going to add flour.
Okay.
Which is our thickening agent.
And are we adding all of this flour here?
We are.
All right. And how much would you say for the people at home?
I would say a quarter cup.
Okay.
And this all depends on the size of the batch you're going to make. Okay. And we're just going to cook our flour down here just gently. At this point in time, we're not looking for our flour to brown. We're going to make what they call a blonde roux. We're just going to cook our flour down, but you do have to cook it a little bit into your butter. And if let's say you're making a gumbo, you would turn this, there's 3 different kinds of roux. There's a blonde roux, a peanut butter roux, and a chocolate roux. Okay. Let's say you're making a gumbo today as well. You'd want to cook this into a peanut butter roux, which means you're going to cook your flour more until it turns like a peanut butter color.
Okay.
But today we're just going to make mac and cheese. So we've already got our flour incorporated into our butter. We're going to let this cook for about 2 minutes.
Okay.
And we just want it to just emulsify into the butter. Okay. So now we're going to add our cheese into this.
Okay. Back on the heat. Cheese goes in. Neat.
So now basically what we're going to do is we're going to let our cheese connect with all the proteins of the flour. Okay. We're just going to let this slowly cook into it. But we don't want to go in too far. And what I like to do on this thing is I like to add an easy melting cheese. And today we picked an American cheese. It's a very easy melting cheese. You could do a Havarti or things of that nature.
Yeah.
That would be excellent.
But you don't want to add your hard cheeses to this until the very end. You add like a hard cheddar and that kind of stuff. It's not going to want to melt in very well. It's going to resist.
So that's better, you're saying, to add maybe at the very end as sort of just an extra little boost.
You could add your Gouda in here, you could add your pepper jack, you could add Swiss, you could add whatever you want to really kick up your mac and cheese. But when we do this in a deli, we do this in giant batches.
Right.
What we're going to do is we're just going to add a very easy melting cheese to this. That's going to connect to the pan very easily. So you're not forcing this cheese to connect to the sauce.
Okay.
So at this point in time, what we're going to do now is, as our cheese is beginning to melt into this, and we're getting a good liquidy feel to this, we're going to add in, I have seasonings here, we're going to add a little onion powder and a little granulated garlic to give it more of an element of depth. And then we're going to add our heavy cream to this. Perfect. And the heavy cream is going to allow this whole thing to lock together. So basically what we're going to do now is we've already got a thickening agent in here, which is our roux or the beginnings of a bechamel, if you will. We're just going to blend in the heavy cream to this. And we're going to continue to stir this because as this thickening agent inside here, it's going to lock this together. So we're just going to continue to stir this. And the cheese is now melting into our bechamel sauce, our heavy cream, our flour, our butter, our seasonings. We've come to the point where our cheese is melted. So now we're going to add as much stock as we want. I chose a chicken stock today. You could use a beef stock. You could use a vegetarian stock if you're vegetarian and you don't choose to use a meat stock. So now that will take you, how thick do you want your mac and cheese?
Okay.
You want lighter?
Ooey gooey.
Ooey gooey?
Yes.
Or if you want lighter, but don't forget too, once you add your stock like we're doing now, once we add our macaroni and cheese, I do recommend when you cook your macaroni and cheese that you shock it. So cook it to the point where you want a little al dente, and then shock it in cold water. And the reason we shock our pasta so it doesn't continue to cook.
And we learned that al dente means fine to the tooth.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Correct. You want it like to a little bit of a bite, because if you choose to cook this later, pop it in your oven tonight or tomorrow night, you want it to be able, you can bake it.
Go for half.
And it's not overdone. If you don't shock this and stop it from cooking, because pasta will continue to cook after it's out of the water unless you cool it down with some cold water.
You know how I shock my pasta at home, Chef Tom? I just tell it, the baby is yours. It shocks it right on the spot. It works every time. It's a little trick from the My Hot Kitchen.
And so the nice thing about this too is this can be prepared, we can prepare this ahead of time. You can prepare it Monday for Wednesday or Thursday and do meal planning. You can add chicken to this, you can add bacon to this, you can add pulled pork to brisket.
Bacon.
You can add whatever you want.
I'm gonna ask you though, what's your personal go-to?
Bacon.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
You gotta kick it up a notch.
Yeah, you do. And I know there's some people out there, myself included, I like a little bit of a kick in my pasta, and like this is a dish where you could easily add, a little pepper, jalapeno, poblano, whatever your go-to is. And that's something, where would you add that if we were adding that to this dish?
Right now.
Right now. Okay.
Right now.
Okay.
And one of my favorite macs, I'm glad you brought that up, is a poblano mac and cheese. It's a little spicy, but it's not too spicy.
Right.
But it's a little smoky. It just adds a bit more depth. And you can add pulled pork, you can add pork belly, you can add whatever you want to this. I mean, mac and cheese is one of the most flexible things in the world.
It really is, yeah.
You can diversify it however you want. So now we're going to add our pasta to this. Now the pasta is going to take up some of this liquid.
Right.
And you have to take that in consideration as far as if you make it too thick and you add your pasta, then it's going to take up all your liquids.
So this is, maybe a good litmus test for saying, oh, did I add too much or not enough liquid? Always better, I would assume, start small, add later, correct?
And once you cool this down, it's going to take on more liquid as it cools down.
Okay.
So it's going to solidify in your refrigerator, and it's going to make it, so when you bring this back the next day, it's going to be almost like a pie, if you will.
Okay.
But once again, as you heat it back up, it's going to loosen back up. So don't add any more stock to this. You've already added all the stock.
Let the heat do its thing.
Let the heat do its thing.
All right, so we have the perfect comfort food. We've kicked it up a notch.
All right.
Now the TV
Now we're going
magic
to add our bacon.
Now we're going to add bacon.
This is the real magic.
The words
here.
of every chef. Now we're going to add bacon.
I mean, if you don't like bacon, come on. So this is going to add a little bit more saltiness to it, and it's going to add a little more smokiness. I mean, you're going to have the flavor of the bacon inside here. So one thing is I never season things until the end.
Oh.
So if you have a salty cheese, if you have a salty bacon, and you add salt now, you can't take it back.
Right.
But you can always add at the end.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. So once the mac is added, the bacon's added, are we done?
We're done.
Waiting for
Eat.
anything?
That's it.
We're done.
We're done.
So we should eat.
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
Grab those plates today.
All right. Best time of this entire segment.
This.
We get to taste it. And like I said before, the smell is incredible. And we brought it up. You said you add the onion powder, it adds a little bit of depth. I smell that coming through, which I didn't think
And that
I
garlic
would.
as well.
And that garlic, and oh, it smells so good.
All right, we're going in.
I can't, we gotta.
So, all right,
wasting
chef,
time.
This is cold weather season comfort food, which I just absolutely adore.
I can't stop.
Yeah, no, I'm probably just gonna devour this
Just
whole
leave me
entire
alone with this
plate.
for a while, please. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you go ahead and do that. So I think we should wrap this up. Chef Tom, it's been a blast hanging out with you as always. And seriously, folks, this recipe,
This one.
Thanksgiving, It's a hit.
Do it.
It's beautiful. Don't forget, you can add this to on your initial bechamel base. Will thicken your gravies. Will thicken your stocks. So don't make it hard.
Yeah.
Like I always say, play with your food.
Play with
your food.
Play with your food.
Excellent advice. Thanks for watching. We'll be back on Up
Yeah.
North at 4.